Let's talk about what is going on in that small matter of that war going on in Europe that so many people don't seem to pay so much attention to, when they'd rather be talking about Gaza. But certainly Donald Trump says that it's a top priority for him to try and end that war, get the men out of the meat grinder, he says, in Ukraine. He had a 2-hour phone call with Vladimir Putin yesterday to talk about offers of trade deals with Russia if they're willing to agree to some sort of peace. Let's talk about this now with Igor Novikov. He's a former advisor to President Zelensky in Ukraine and joins us now. Very good morning to you, Igor.
Good morning, Julia. Good morning.
What do you make, certainly, of the reports we've seen of this conversation coming out of both the Kremlin and the White House about what actually took place in this phone call between these, two of the most powerful men on the planet?
Well, realistically, what happened was Putin's delay tactics worked. So President Trump believes that we're going to be working on a memorandum to finalize a memorandum about a memorandum that will end the war at some point. What happened in reality was, do you remember that first Die Hard movie where Alan Rickman's Hans was sitting opposite, the CEO of that Japanese company?
Yeah.
Hostage, and the guy goes, well, I've signed billion-dollar deals with this man, so can I not make a deal with a criminal? And he had 2 minutes to live after that.
Yeah.
Well, that's exact analogy. That's exactly what happened on that phone call. So Trump thinks he can make a deal with a schizophrenic psychopath murderer, and that's not going to happen.
And that's the thing. It seems to me obvious to everyone around the world, and you don't have to be a Trump supporter or not. And in fact, it's interesting, even in America, a lot of Republicans, and certainly the majority of the American people, are not fans of Donald Trump's views on the situation in Ukraine. That Donald Trump is being made to look like an absolute fool. He's being taken for a ride by Vladimir Putin. Everyone, it seems, can see it. I'm pretty sure his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, can see it. I'm pretty sure the whole of the staff of the White House can see it. But he seems to be absolutely intent in believing that he's the deal maker. He can do a deal with Vladimir Putin, and it's a deal that will end the war. But the reality is, even if there were a deal, it's a deal that would basically leave Vladimir Putin able to seize the rest of Ukraine at any time, and is not a deal that anyone in Ukraine could realistically agree to.
Well, Julia, there's one way to make a deal with Putin, and Trump actually had that card. I mean, if you listen to what the Republicans in the Senate were saying, if you introduce 500% tariffs on any country dealing with Russia, including its shadow oil fleet, if you corner Putin and tell him, like, look, end this war or else, that would have gotten Trump a deal before autumn.
Yeah.
Now, I think realistically what we're looking at, Russia's going to go all in over the summer warfare campaign. Russia's going to be playing Trump with these delay tactics, trying to disrupt any aid to Ukraine to make sure that the summer campaign goes even better for them. And from that position onwards, towards October or November, Putin's going to get more realistic about his demands. And Trump will be facing, midterms in a year's time from that point in time. So he's going to be even more willing to create that illusion that he actually achieved something.
Well, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's interesting that J.D. Vance was talking while that phone call had been taking place, saying, look, if we're not going to be seeing a deal, we're going to walk away. This is Biden's war. There was this is Biden's war. We don't need to be involved in it. We have to look after American taxpayers rather than what's going on in Ukraine. There's a difference, isn't there, between the Americans walking away from peace talks, and there's a difference between that and walking away from Ukraine. And that is the big fear, not just of Ukrainians, I think also of many in Europe, and certainly my fear, that we will lose that US military aid and that US military know-how and technology and information that has been vital for the Ukraine war effort. If that were the case, and that's obviously what Vladimir Putin is counting on, that, string it out, eventually Trump gets bored, he walks away. Europe can talk a good game on providing military aid, but actually we can barely defend ourselves after decades of lack of investment in defence. That could mean the end of Ukraine, realistically, could it not?
I don't think it will mean the end of Ukraine. It will definitely put us in a difficult position, but Ukraine is a big country and it's a very resilient country. So definitely the end would be even worse than the one we are kind of looking at the moment. But I don't think it will be the end of Ukraine. But it will definitely be the end of the United States as the hegemon, because at the moment, There's one thing I can say that could be a bit polarizing and seem premature, but I think the trajectory that we're currently on, I think China is the new United States, unfortunately.
This is the worry. I've always said this to people when we talk about Syria, oh, the West shouldn't get involved, or the West shouldn't get involved. If America and the West don't get involved, you don't have America as the world's policeman. I hate to tell you who you end up with. You end up with Russia or China. Those are the options.
Not with Russia. Not with Russia. Russia is China's.
Well, it's a basket case economy. We know that. But this is the thing. Can Putin walk away at all from this war, given that his entire economy is pretty much now in military mode? It's in wartime mode, and he's got, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of men, many severely injured, returning from war. I mean, if he doesn't have what he can play as a victory, what happens next?
Well, I think he can walk away from this war. I mean, I don't think he wants to, and I don't think he has to at this point, unfortunately, due to what's going on with the US. Now, this war, in some shape or form, this conflict, this kind of reshaping of the global order is going to continue, as far as Russia is concerned, until the final kind of straw, until the final regime change. So until Putin is dead, and I think realistically there's no way he's going to have, he's going to be replaced by anyone, including one of his cronies. There's a very small chance of that. Until he's dead, he's going to be causing trouble because now he's all in. So I don't see Russia returning to those peaceful ways. Trump will do everything in his power to make sure that happens because he wants that kind of economy boost for the United States by kind of unsanctioning Russia. It's not going to work, unfortunately.
Well, we get America, but there were barely any sanctions from America on Russia at the beginning of the war because they didn't actually do very much trade with Russia, of course, whereas the European Union did. I mean, again, we've apparently announced more sanctions today, and it makes you wonder all these years in why whatever sanctions we've put on, that they weren't already in place. Really good to talk to you, Igor Novikov, former advisor to President Zelensky. Thank you for that.